Let me tell you a story. A story about a place that was never meant to be visited, and a group of strangers who had no idea what they were walking into. It began with an invitation, simple yet irresistible. Each person received a letter sealed with no return address. Inside was a single message. You have been chosen. Come to Ravenhurst Asylum at midnight. A reward awaits. The recipients were strangers to each other, but they had something in common. They all had dark pasts, secrets they wanted to bury, or questions they desperately needed answers to. There was Sophie, a journalist chasing her big break. Marcus, an ex-soldier haunted by his past. Elena is a single mother with a missing child. And Eric, an ambitious young businessman who seemed too confident for his own good. At exactly midnight, they arrived at the gates of Ravenhurst. The asylum loomed ahead like a rotting corpse. Its broken windows and crumbling walls whispered of horrors long forgotten, but none of them turned back. The promise of answers or rewards pulled them forward like moths to a flame. The gates creaked open on their own, as if welcoming them in, and once they stepped inside, the air changed. It was cold, unnaturally cold, the kind of chill that creeps under your skin and settles in your bones. Inside, the asylum was eerily pristine. Dust-free floors, freshly lit candles lining the hallways, and a faint scent of flowers that didn't belong. But the host was missing. They searched, calling out into the silence, but no one answered. Then, the whispers began. At first, they were faint, barely audible, like wind through a crack in the wall. But soon, the whispers grew louder, clearer. They weren't just random sounds. They were voices. Voices calling their names. Sophie stopped in her tracks, her face pale. I heard my mother's voice, but she's been dead for 10 years. The group pressed on, unease building with every step. The whispers weren't just calling. They were leading them deeper into the asylum. They came to a large, locked door. On it were strange symbols, glowing faintly in the dim light. That's it, Eric said, his voice shaking but determined. Whatever's behind that door is what we're here for. But the door wouldn't budge. Instead, the asylum responded. The walls began to shift, reshaping the hallways and separating the group. Marcus was the first to realize the asylum wasn't just a building. It was alive. He found himself in a long corridor where every door led him back to the same place. Each time, the whispers grew louder, daunting him with voices from his past. For Sophie, the asylum became her worst nightmare. She saw visions of her mother standing at the end of the hallway, staring at her with hollow eyes. You left me, the figure said, its voice echoing like broken glass. Elena found herself in a child's bedroom. Toys littered the floor, and a single lullaby played from an old music box. Mommy, a voice called. She turned, and there stood her missing daughter, except her eyes were pitch black. Eric, ever the skeptic, dismissed the whispers as tricks of the mind. But when he looked into a mirror, his reflection smirked at him and whispered, You're next. The group eventually found each other again, trembling but alive. That's when they saw it, the keeper. It wasn't human. It had no face, just a swirling void where features should have been. Its body was made of shifting shadows, and its voice was a low, guttural growl. You have entered my domain, it said. The asylum feeds on fear, and you have brought plenty. To leave, you must pay the price. What price? Marcus demanded. The keeper pointed to the glowing door they had found earlier. Behind this door lies your freedom, but only one may enter. The rest must stay. Panic set in. The group argued, pointing fingers and blaming each other. But as they fought, the asylum grew darker. The whispers turned to screams. The walls closed in, and the keeper watched, feeding on their fear. Finally, Sophie stepped forward. "I'll go," she said, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. The keeper nodded, and the door creaked open. But what lay beyond was not freedom. It was a chasm of darkness, endless and consuming. Sophie screamed as the darkness pulled her in, and the door slammed shut behind her. The asylum fell silent. But it wasn't over. The remaining three thought they were free, but the asylum had other plans. Every hallway led them in circles, the whispers returning, louder and more malicious. The keeper's voice echoed around them. "You can never leave." One by one, they were consumed by the asylum, their screams joining the endless chorus of whispers. And so, the asylum remains, waiting for its next visitors. So, if you ever receive an invitation, sealed with no return address, promising rewards beyond your imagination, don't go, because Ravenhurst Asylum never lets anyone leave.